like during economic development, some things we learned from the ODOT meeting or not?
You can. I was going to. Do you want to do it? You go ahead.
Give me something to talk about.
Yeah, good. That's here. Do my notes help?
Doesn't ring a bell.
I've got my notes, I think.
Okay. We ready?
Who's missing?
Ready when you are.
Oh, Charles, you're right, yes.
I guess, is it on? It's on. Okay. You're on. I'm on. Oh, it's showtime. I want to call to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. And Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Yes, Mayor Chipchurch.
Here.
Cheryl Robertson.
Here.
Brian Green.
Here.
Doug Leonard.
Here.
Robert Block.
Here.
Ben Lee.
Here.
Sharon Hendrick.
Yes, here.
Okay. Sharon, can we call on you for the invocation?
Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us all here tonight. Please help us make the right decisions. Be with us. Be with our military, our policemen, our nurses. Be with all those who care for us every day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is action on minutes. First is can we do these together? I think we can do these together. Do we have any changes or corrections to the minutes for the special meeting held on February 1st? Or any additions, corrections to the regular meeting held on February 1st?
No, sir.
Hearing none. Want to call the roll, Teresa?
Oh, need a motion?
We need a motion.
Oh, we need a motion. I'm sorry, I'm moving too fast.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Yes, Brian Green.
Yes.
Doug Leonard.
Yes.
Robert Block.
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Ben Lee.
Abstain due to absence?
Sharon Hendrick.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is citizen comments on matters not on the agenda. This is the opportunity for anybody who's joining us tonight to get up and have their say. First of all, welcome. We're glad you're here. It's nice to see people in seats out here. It gets a little lonely in the midst of winter, and it's just us. And we like the fact that you're here, so welcome. And if anybody wants to bring something up to us, now's your opportunity. If you can just go to the microphone, state your name, and give me your address, and we'll hear what you have to say.
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Eric Taylor, first name spelled E-R-R-I-C-H. I actually live at 214 Blueberry Hill over in the news areas,
Sure.
Leafydale. Just had a couple quick questions.
Sure.
About the Intel buildings. And I know that's a hot topic.
Yes.
I don't care about the Intel being built and stuff, but doing a lot of research with the Arizona and the Silicon Valley with the road infrastructure and stuff like that. Is there gonna be any special meetings like here or the high school where we're gonna actually meet and see what the infrastructure changes are gonna be for the city of Johnstown? Because I know they're talking about doing like a 6-lane or a 5-lane road coming up to Johnstown and then bottlenecking into the Mink, and then Fisher Homes, I've heard it's buying up on Croker Road, and that's getting annexed over by County Line, Clover Valley, which are all subdivisions being, that
Me
they're
too.
buying that area.
Don't know anything about that.
Okay,
That we
so-
haven't heard about.
so I just don't know if it's gonna be bottleneck wise.
What, you want me,
I'll.
want me to go
you'll-
over all
yeah,
this
go
now?
ahead. You can,
Okay.
yeah.
There was a meeting, an ODOT meeting, that a couple of us attended. It was a Zoom meeting. I was gonna say this for economic development, but I'll just go over it right now to give everybody as much update as possible. First of all, Intel's main entrance will be at Mink Road, okay? They are going to widen Route 161 from Route 62 all the way to 270 by a lane on each side. So it'll be a total of 6 lanes, 3 lanes each way, okay? Mink Road should be 6 excuse me,
Five.
5 lanes, make road. But it will end at Green Chapel Road. And then it just narrows back down to our roads. We're not getting any money for our roads, which I'm not happy with, but that's the way it is.
Well, that was as of yesterday.
This was
That may change.
yesterday. Yeah, well, let's hope so. Phase 1, they're gonna start moving dirt, August or September. They will actually start building spring of next year. Phase 1 is supposed to be done and in operation by 2025. The number of construction workers on that project was 7,000. If the CHIP bill passes in Congress, there'll be 3 additional phases. So there'll be a total of 8 fabs. And then they will go and expand every 3 years, they will build another 2 fabs. Okay? The main entrances, again, makes the roads the #1 interchange, Route 62 and Beach Road. Then they've had something that they called a haul route, HAUL. And that's for their trucking. Their trucking, they'll have those type of trucks coming down Beach Road, then to Jug. They're gonna make Jug a 3-lane highway. Then they're gonna develop a brand-new road, another 3-lane highway up into Intel. So, I mean, you know, that's a
That would
brand-new
fit.
road.
If you take Harrison Street currently and extend it to the Intel site, we were out there today, and that's sort of where that goes.
It matches up with the Arizona, if you do the satellite imaging on that, it kind of matches up with that.
Does it?
The whole roads and stuff like that, and then Mink kind of matches up with the whole, actually the whole entrance and everything.
Copy
set
that.
up as Mink too, so looking at that, it kind of fits up, but, I mean, it's gonna, stink for us, trying to figure out northbound, cause it's gonna cost us $10-20 million to go expand Mink Street up northbound, at least even with the bridge replacement over by the water treatment facility. So with all that movement and everything, so hopefully we get some
Dude.
ODOT money.
We hope so. We hope so. And then, when they ship the chips back out, that will be from the Route 161 bypass to 270 and taken down to Rickenbacker. So everything's gonna be
And
flown out of
all
there.
of their production will be flown out of Columbus.
Okay. 'Cause I know
Yes.
they were talking about doing Newark Airport as well, flying stuff out of there.
They didn't mention that
They
yesterday.
didn't mention that yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. So, but
Makes
that's what we know.
If it
That's
makes
what-
you feel any better, my son was at the meeting, he said they're not doing anything 62 for 5 years.
What did they say they valid?
Doesn't make us feel any better.
So,
You're
we
there.
were not, needless to say, we were not happy with what we heard yesterday.
No.
I intend to be harping at all the appropriate folks to make sure they hear us loud and clearly, and we'll do that at every meeting that I'm invited to go to until we get satisfactory answers. Our problem at the moment is we don't have a lot of answers, so the community meeting is a great idea. I am aware of the anxiety in this community. It's broad, it's wide, it's deep. I want to address it as quickly as I can, and I'm trying to share information as quickly as I get it. And there's nothing I'm holding back that I've been told you can't talk about that at this point. So I am playing catch-up here, and we all are. As a council, we are. As a city government, we are. And as I told somebody a couple times today, we are compressing 20 years of growth and planning into 20 months.
No, absolutely.
It's not easy. It's not gonna be easy. But if we all stay working together, we can get through this and face it head on. It's a challenge. We've never faced a challenge like this as a community. And we're gonna have to do our best. And again, I want to address the anxiety in the community as quickly as possible to lower the pressure on everybody. I feel for people. They faced COVID. kids being on Zoom calls, all of those things that have gone on in the last year, this just adds to it. And we have to be cognizant of that and address it as best we can. And I think that's what everybody sitting up here, that's what we intend to do. I do. And I think everybody else sort of feels the same way, I hope.
I got something to say.
Also, if you hear, we hear rumors every day, this farmer sold out, and all of them's rumors.
And,
All
and,
rumors.
you know, as I like Facebook, and I read all those comments on there. But a lot of people post things on there and don't let facts get in the way of what's the reality.
A good story.
We have to address the reality. We can't have the luxury of chasing rumors. So if anybody else wants to comment.
Yeah, where did you say you was from? Sorry.
Leafy Dell.
Leafydale, okay. This comes as a big surprise to all of us, of course. It's been in the works for a long time. New Albany company knew about it. None of us was informed, which I understand. This is gonna be good for the United States. We're getting these chips back here. It is throwing our community in a turmoil right now. We'll survive it and work through it. New Albany's never been the greatest of neighbors to Johnstown. They haven't kept us informed of what's going on. Maybe it'll change, I don't know, don't expect it to. But what I see is we can't fight, nor do we want to fight New Albany. We have to embrace what's going on over there and do what's best for the citizens of Johnstown. And I think that we can do that, and I think we can pull it together. They're gonna have to have housing. They're doing all the factories, and they're giving all the breaks and stuff, and we won't have to give it on housing if we stick with the housing. But I think you'll see a better community come out of Johnstown. And as far as the roads that Cheryl was talking about, I'll have to give it to New Albany. When you drive around New Albany and see the way they've done their roads and things, and when they've dumped them into other communities, you talk to ODOT. Well, ODOT changes a lot too when a New Albany company gets after them. But if you look around where they're coming into a different community where the roads meet and stuff, they put roundabouts in, they put landscaping in, and they've tied those roads in pretty good. I just can't see them dumping 5 lanes of traffic on us and just walking away from it. It's too close to their factories and things. And they've done a wonderful job with the New Albany community. If I could afford to live over there, I wouldn't live over there anyway because I'd be afraid I'd get drunk and come home and get in the wrong house. But we just got to embrace what they're doing and work for what's best for Johnstown and Monroe Township.
And
Are you guys putting like a special team or just using you guys as for like that?
well,
intel
my
type
little
thing?
part-time mayorship has turned into a full-time occupation. And I'm not complaining about that. I'm facing it head on. And I'm whatever time it takes for me to accomplish what needs to be accomplished on behalf of my colleagues here, I'm gonna do. And I'm not worrying about how many hours in the week and whatever. I just get up every day and go back at it. Now, one of the things I'm concerned about this road problem, it's not just getting people to that plant, it's getting the people who already live here out to their jobs and home again safely. That's important. That's my priority. And the secondary thing is whatever we're gonna be able to get from Intel to help facilitate that. So that's where I'm coming from. Anybody else wanna chime in?
No?
Anyhow, but it's number 1 on our list.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you for coming.
Anybody else? Sure.
Mayor, Council, good afternoon.
Hi.
My name's Aaron Steffen. Some of you know me as Dana's husband, or your finance director. I have something I was gonna just deliver to you, Mayor. It's a complaint on a council member. But then I found out there's this public comment. I haven't been to a whole lot of these meetings, so I guess I'm allowed to just read my complaint. So I have this written up. I'm just gonna read it, and you guys can do with it what you need to do with it. It has come to my attention that Marvin Block has been spreading rumors of a relationship, quote, affair between my wife, Dana Steffen, and the Chief of Police of Johnstown, Abe Haroon. I understand that multiple council members have heard Marvin reference it appears they are having an affair. council members, I implore you to put yourself in our shoes. We have a daughter in Johnstown High School and another daughter starting next year. Dana volunteers numerous hours of her time at church, in the community as the JYAA treasurer, coaches Pee Wee soccer, recently received her referee certificate due to a shortage of refs. Wherever there is a need, she steps up and volunteers herself to serve. Dana was a stay-at-home mother before she accepted the position as the finance director of Johnstown. She stepped out of public accounting with a top 5 accounting firm to have a family. If she desired, she would be a partner at that firm currently. Dana went back to work as the finance director of Johnstown because she felt being involved in the town where we live to be much more rewarding than profits of some large company. Dana loved her career as the finance director of Johnstown, up until Marvin Block signed his oath. His ludicrous claims over city-related matters is one thing, and you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys are in the meetings, I'm not. But these rumors about the chief of police and my wife are a whole new level of harassment. My wife is not only a professional CPA, she is a mother, she is a volunteer, she is loyal, and she is a saint. Anyone who describes her in any other manner will gain my attention. And Marvin, you got my attention. I'm sure you can agree that defamation of someone's character is not something to be overlooked by anyone. When you are in a position of leadership, there is no room for harassment. Marvin is a bully and an embarrassment to our local government. He apparently attacks anyone that is not in complete agreement with him. I'm starting to understand why some council members haven't stood up to him already. They are probably fearful of what he will say about them or what actions he will take. I also believe there may be some that simply play the political game to get what they want. Our chief and his family are new to the community. They should not have to deal with this type of harassment either. Our men and women in blue face so much opposition in the public. Chief is a professional, and all this nonsense isn't what anyone signs up for, and it should not be tolerated. I truly feel sorry that this is his family's introduction to our community. Nothing short of Marvin's public apology and resignation from council will be acceptable. I'm currently exploring further legal and political actions to protect my family's integrity and reputation. And again, my name's Aaron Steffen. You can have the original, right?
I'm gonna not allow a discussion. We'll take it under advisement. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, and I think that's where we leave it tonight.
So you're just gonna let me get charged with this, and I can't make any comment?
If you want to address it, you can say something.
Which council member did I tell, any of you, that an affair was going on? Sharon?
No, you
Ben?
said she was always in his office or her office, so that's all I know.
You alluded to it, Marvin.
I said, did I say they was having an affair?
No,
You said you look alike they could be.
I don't
That
remember
they're
saying
always,
that.
they're always
I
kind
said
of
they're
closed
spending,
doors.
they admitted, the chief admitted to Jack and I that they were spending two hours a day, hour and a half, 2 hours a day, since this has been going on about the drone and stuff, in each other's office. That's what was said. Is anybody else? I haven't said that to anybody else. I told the chief, he come up to my house, and I told the chief at his house, at my house, that it didn't look good for them to be spending that much time together to the other employees and things.
How do you know how much time they're spending together?
The chief admitted it to Jack and I.
That's not correct. That's a lie.
Jack,
That is not true. You said you spent time with the other employees, gaining relationships, not the wrong relationships, building relationships and work relationships with the other employees.
Not to mention, I am the HR director, so I should have closed-door conversations with other directors. Thank you.
do you want to take a lie detector on that, chief, that you didn't say that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, loser pays. You set it up, Jack.
Are you done?
About whether he said that,
No, are you done?
yes, I'm done.
Okay.
So my name is Judy Herman.
We're gonna move on.
Oh, so you're not gonna let me speak?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you speak.
Okay, that's fine, because I would like to speak about this.
Oh,
I am
okay,
the spouse of Abe Haroon.
okay.
I'm
Oh.
also here with the same
Well,
complaint.
welcome, Mike.
Thank you. you.
Nice to see you.
But, you know, I don't wanna be here, obviously, up in front of all you to have to also bring the same issue up. But I also found out about this rumor. I'm appalled that you are allowed to sit up here and be a part of council making decisions for this community. You should be embracing, you know, the folks that live here. I am a new member of this community, and believe me when I say, I'm highly disappointed in your behavior. I'm disappointed in other folks' behavior sitting up here as well for knowing that this is going on, and it continues to go on. So with that being said, you know, you are basically trying to ruin two people's professional livelihoods, right? Their careers, their reputations. And on top of that, what happens is that because I am married to, you know, to Abe, Aaron is married to Dana, that also bleeds into our personal life. Someone who sparks rumors that two people are having an affair at work is trying to ruin individuals' lives as well as, you know, the relationships they have with their families. So shame on you. Shame on you for doing that. And I agree with Aaron. I think that this needs to be formally investigated, and I also seek to have him resign as well. It's unacceptable.
Thank you. Anybody else on any topic? Okay, and I will take care of investigating this and coming up with a conclusion. Anyhow, if nobody else has comments on any other topic, we're gonna move on with our agenda. And next up, we're gonna go into a very, very short executive session in order to hear from the magistrate. And we're gonna go next door and do that, and then we're coming back here. And then we'll continue with the agenda, and hopefully it'll be quick. And we hope you will all stay, because we will not be long.
Motion.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I make a motion, we go into executive session.
Thank you, Sharon. And is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. You want to
Yes.
call the roll?
Yes.
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 So stay here. We'll be right back. Okay.
I'm just gonna pause the recording. Do you wanna, can you mute the microphone? That's what I was wondering.
Okay. We've returned to regular session of the regular council meeting for Tuesday, February 15th. Next up is council committee reports. First up is planning and zoning, and it met on the 8th and had a special, and the next regular session is on the 22nd here in council chambers. Is there anything to report from that? Bailey?
At the special meeting, planning and zoning had a work session with the design review board and one of our applicants for a COA. And, it went pretty well, I think. Planning and zoning did I think a really great job providing their expertise, so hopefully that comes back positive. And then, well, you all were at the next training, so.
Great. Questions for Bailey? Okay, we'll move right along. Safety and service was updated last time, and the next meeting is March the 1st. Finance met tonight, and Ben is going to report on our outcome.
Yeah, so we got a few items that we want to bring to council tonight for some conversation based off of some motions that happened in finance on the agenda items. The first one that we want to bring up, though, since we have guests here this evening, the Seekmans having to do with government affairs representation. And Chip, I'll turn it over to you to maybe give some background, and then also if the Seekmans have some background they want to provide or answer any questions, and then we can give some insight.
We on the government affairs side, I've come to the conclusion that we need help. And we don't have a bench of people to turn to. And I know from speaking for myself that I am limited in the number of hours that I can spend with that issue. And the issues that the Intel plant is bringing to us, the number of hours that the mobility hub is bringing to us, plus every other need that we have in this community to get financial resources from the state of Ohio, the federal government, et cetera. That's why in a government affairs team is important to add to our team. And having been in this business previously and spent a lot of time in it and made a decent amount of money in it, I can tell you that they have proposed a fee of $3,000 a month. And it's a 6-month contract to start with. And that is, in the world of government affairs, that's cheap. I'll just say it, it's cheap. And we appreciate that because it gives us a chance to work together to build that relationship. But we're in a position where, as I said, we're gonna put 20 months of effort into 20 weeks, or however I said that. 20 years, 20 years into 20 months. So we don't have time to waste. And the state of Ohio's budget and getting in front of those people and making them hear our message and our needs and explain to them our needs. And that's why we need the Seekmans. And I asked them to stay tonight in case any other council members had questions for them. And I think that sort of hits all the high points. Questions? Any additional questions for the Seekmans?
Maybe it'd be nice if they just came
Yeah,
up
if
and
you
gave
wanna
a quick
give us a
rundown
quick-
of what they said in the finance committee to help the other members understand
helpful.
exactly what they're gonna do.
Presentation of plans. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you again for the opportunity. I'm Dwayne Seekman, my wife Pamela Seekman. I'm the second, we're Seekman and Seekman, but I'm the second Seekman, so she's always first, so I'm gonna let her,
Well, good evening, and good to see you again. Dwayne and I have been in this business, I guess, combined a total of 50 years. So I started off as an aide in the Ohio State House and ran my own political fundraising and consulting firm, lobbied for the State Medical Association before starting this independent consulting firm. We cover a variety of issue areas, and again, we lobby both at the state and the federal level. Everything from tax policy to medical marijuana, to energy, oil and gas, municipality also in full transparency, since it was brought up, we also represent the city of New Albany. We live there and, but I grew up in Champaign County. So that's just a quick introduction about us, and I'll let Dwayne introduce himself too.
I'm a transplant from Nebraska, so it was 1992 when I came to Ohio. So I've spent more time in Ohio than I have Nebraska. Not if anybody is a math person, they can figure out how old I am based on that. But as Pamela said, the folks that we represent, and I think when we talked to the mayor and the Intel announcement, and the young man who spoke to start off, the concerns that he has as a community, and that's what we bring to the table. We're the advocates for the city, for the residents, to the government officials. It can't just be Intel's coming. This is a $20 billion investment. We have all these construction jobs, all this $135,000 average salary. Just forget about the local communities that existed before. So we're those folks that go and talk to the politicians and bring it to light that to Governor DeWine, to Lieutenant Governor Husted, to every member of the Ohio House and Senate and the Ohio Congressional Delegation. And so that's one of those areas that we'll focus on for the city when it comes to Intel. And I know Pamela's had conversations with Bailey and pulling money down from the state and money down from the federal government. Every 2 years, Ohio has a capital budget, which communities are selected to receive funds for different community projects. And Pamela's working with Bailey on submitting a couple of those ideas for the city already. So that's just a quick overview. Hopefully that's.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would just add too, just in the transportation space, so of course we have the newly passed bipartisan infrastructure law, which is over $1 trillion package that's gonna be dispersed. Over 5 years, the state is in line for many billions of dollars. So one of the things that we do again would be added to your team, a tool in your toolbox to help you advocate and get those funds that are rightfully due to the community. We work with the Department of Commerce on doing the same, Department of Energy, all these interagency actions, and again, helping this team get all the dollars that they need to build up and prepare for Intel and everything else coming.
And just one other comment that New Albany was brought up earlier. Met the city administrator yesterday in our bi-monthly meeting, and he did say, sitting down with Mayor Chip, the folks here, is important because they want to establish a relationship. They realize that the city of New Albany company, City of New Albany says we need to be partners with the city of Johnstown, Village of Alexandria, City of Newark throughout this whole thing. But this development is going to change everybody, every community.
One of the,
Answer any questions.
one of the first things, I just want to make a statement, one of the first things that we talked about, we sat in on an ODOT meeting the other day, and they discussed their plans, of how they're going to improve roads and make things better. As the mayor and Cheryl and I sat there, they talked only about the roads they were going to repair and upgrade and spend money on coming from Franklin County this way. Not a single word was discussed on spending any money or upgrades for our current problems at 62 and 37. What's going to happen to Mink Street once all that traffic needs to get from Mink to Green Chapel? And as we said, that's probably our number one. We have some other issues, obviously, but that's probably our number one issue. And as I understand it, this is the job that these folks, we would give a priority list. They will tackle that. They will get in to our representatives and say, no, you've got to spend money over on this side. This is already a problem. We have traffic problems. They're going to push to get some of those federal dollars, state dollars spent on this side to take care of the needs of Johnstown. Correct me if I said any of that incorrectly, but that would be the goal, that if we bring these folks on, that we're going to do. Now, Councilman Lee was, very good. What's our rate of return on this? What we're expending versus our rate of return, and that's why I think a 6-month contract makes sense more than a long-term contract, to see how it works, see how everything would fit together.
And that was within finance, the conversation of, obviously we talk a lot about ROI. How do you get there? If it's a metric that isn't, a numerical metric, what are we judging this against as a success or not at that 6-month term? And so if this is something that is entertained and it was approved 3-0 in finance to move forward with this, is we'd have to have a resolution with the contract and finance dollars attached to it with respect to expenditure. But the suggestion would be to have some kind of work session with council included with the Seekmans to understand what that list is, and then what the items are that we could judge or evaluate the term with at the end on success or not.
And one other thing I'd like to point out is that while we have great relationships with our immediate representatives, both at the congressional level and at the state level, there's other people that they have to interact with, that other members of a committee, let's say, that never heard of Johnstown. They can help educate. They can help point them in the right direction, and they can vouch for us in those meetings when the going gets tough. And that is immeasurable benefit. And I just add that to the discussion.
Very good point. And Intel, the state has a huge investment in the success of Intel and everything that surrounds Intel, the supply chain and the suppliers that come in. So up to the governor, up to our U.S. senators, I mean, and everyone in between. It has to be success, not just for New Albany, but for this entire state and the country, as you all pointed out. So that is the communication that we will make sure that is getting up to those decision makers and being your voice there, with the power of you all behind us, feeding us the right information, and then us being strategic about how we communicate that to them.
Anybody else? Questions? Thank you very much. Ben, you want to continue the
Well, what I would say is,
finance side, or are we going to make a motion?
we'll do a motion and a second, a vote on council, just to move forward with this. If it's something that we're gonna move forward with as a council, then we need to make sure, obviously, we have a resolution and things like that next time, so I wanna give that direction to staff. I'll go ahead and make the motion to move forward with representation from the Seekmans, as we've discussed, at the rate in the contract as the proposal provides.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Now, are we gonna wait for a resolution for next?
Oh,
We're gonna do a roll call,
Or are we gonna do a roll call
and
first?
then we'll see where
Okay.
that goes.
Before we do anything on this, though, I mean, we're gonna have further discussion, before we go into the contract, we're gonna have further discussion and then a work session is the plan before we vote on this?
No,
Well, we voted on it tonight to move forward with and a verbal on engaging in the contract, and we'd have a resolution 2 weeks from now to
and then we'll have. a work
solidify
session.
that, and then we would have a work session thereafter.
So
or
they
even
can
that
sit
same
with all
night
of us.
to talk through the items that we would wanna have considered as a part of their.
But we're going into a contract just negotiating just through committee. Before it comes to council, we're going into a contract based on that.
It's an intent to move forward, and we would have it solidified within the next 2
The
weeks.
resolution
As a
would be passed.
resolution, nothing's going to
2
be
weeks.
signed as a matter of this evening.
Right,
It's
that's
still
what,
needs-
that's what I'm asking, if a contract is signed from
No.
this evening.
No.
Okay,
No.
that's
It's
what I,
just-
that's
the
what I
intent
It's
is
asked.
move
verbal to
forward.
move forward, to
Would be the intent to
dedicate
move
staff
forward.
time.
They made their presentation to the finance committee tonight. The finance committee is representing us 3-1 in favor of it. Ryan, is what they're doing.
3-0.
3-0. I see 3-1, 3-0, I'm sorry. There's just three of you anyway.
So there's a recommendation from finance to move forward, and this would be concurrence from the balance of council. Or not.
Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Teresa, you wanna call the roll?
Yes.
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 It's approved, and we will move forward. Thank you both for coming. We look forward to working closely with you and for a successful, moving ahead on a longer-term basis.
Couple other items within
Yeah, go ahead.
finance. So
Finish up.
we had a refund request and a fee waiver request that have been out there since December, I think, of last year, and we took it up within finance with the financial implications of them both. Logan Malone's refund request for his P and Z variance application that was denied in planning and zoning. We had discussion within finance with respect to the ask and ultimately decided 3-0 to deny the refund request from Logan. Mainly on the grounds of the fact that the application itself and the fee that is associated is in no way a guarantee for passage or acceptance or approval in any way. It's administrative set beforehand, and it didn't seem within finance that it was necessary to grant that request. So we wanted to move forward with concurrence of council on that as well, so we can have a message delivered back to Mr. Malone. But wanted to see if there are any other comments or questions from the balance of council. And we'll do a similar motion second and vote.
Sharon, do you have a question?
Somebody
How
wanna make
much
a
are we,
motion?
how much are we referring to?
It's less than $300 in total. Less than $250 in total. 237.47, I think, is the number that.
So somebody can make, who made the motion? Did you make?
No, I didn't make the motion. Ben, did you make the motion?
Ben, did you?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to deny the refund request.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Teresa will call the roll.
I want to clarify the motion. This is on Logan Malone's.
Yes,
Correct.
Yes.
correct.
Okay, just making sure. All right, Cheryl Robertson.
Yes to the motion.
Yes.
It was a little confusing.
Yeah,
To deny it,
the
yes.
Yes to the no.
Mayor Dusher.
Yes.
Finley.
Yes.
Sharon Henderson.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Doug Leonard.
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Okay.
The other pending request out there was a fee waiver request from Joe Simonello for the second planning and zoning submission application that has been put in. I understand he's paid that already, so this is a second fee refund instead of a waiver, I guess, is what is being requested. Similarly, within finance, it was recommended 3-0 to deny this fee waiver request or this refund as well. It was viewed in conversation that this type of application, it's a slippery slope when you start talking about these items and refund requests based off of specific items here and there and submitting something for the second time that may be similar to what was submitted and denied the first time. And the last thing anybody wants to do is undue burden on staff and start picking apart any of the fees that we have already set, to which there's been a tremendous amount of investment and research and deliberation to set them at the level that they are now. So it was recommended from finance to move forward 3-0 with denying Joe Simonello's refund request as well.
I have a motion.
Are there any questions?
Are there any questions
Didn't
first?
sound
Yes.
like it.
No, I agree. I think he got his money's
Okay.
worth out of us the first time.
I'll make the motion to deny.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Teresa will call the roll.
Mayor Dusher.
Yes.
Finley.
Yes.
Sharon Henderson.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Doug Leonard.
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson.
Yes.
Yeah, so the last item, and we will have more discussion when we get to it because it is a resolution 2022-09 on for this evening with the financial implications of resolution granting additional sick hours to employees specific for COVID is where the conversation went within finance. Just requesting we'll have some more conversation from finance at that point when it makes sense within the context of tonight's agenda. But essentially, just topside, it was recommended 3-0 to table that from finance, and we can give some more background as to the rationale when we get to that point. The only other things that happened within finance is Dana gave an update on the opioid settlement and the information that was presented in a webinar that she attended, so appreciate the time and effort put into that and the information back to us. It was mentioned tonight by, I think Pamela, you mentioned it, the Park and Rec items that Bailey is working on to submit on behalf of the city for the capital, state capital budget. upcoming. Did you want to give any background on that, or you want to hold that for right now?
I can give a little background. We were alerted to, the state capital budget requests. I actually didn't realize that they were a thing. The deadline is, we thought was March 15th, it's actually March 18th. So by the time we found out about it, we realized we had a pretty short window. I called Prime Engineering last week and had asked them to get started on preparing a plan for a splash pad at Trailhead Park and an amphitheater, sort of a open air performing space at Hannah's Park. And then we had a meeting with them today where Jack and I clarified some things for them. So they will get started on that. We're gonna continue moving forward with the March 15th deadline, just so we make sure we have time. And we're gonna hopefully get those requested, hopefully get some money.
What did you hear there, Ryan, splash pad?
I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay.
As I've said,
That was
we'll
for
have
your
one
benefit.
eventually somewhere.
That was for your benefit.
Yes.
We added in impact fees, which was a conversation we had at the end of last year, on the heels of what Pataskala brought to the table in the fall. That is an item for our goals for this year, as well as talking about an income tax ballot initiative that is something that we do pretty much on an annual basis, but formally adding it to our goals for this year for finance. And the last thing, Jeff, since you're here, is Dana brought up the Joint Park Committee request. And you can get some more info from her based off what we talked about. So, yep, that's it, finance.
Thank you. Questions for Ben? If not, we'll move on. Economic development met on, no, we did,
We met and.
we met,
And I basically did my thing.
right, on the 11th, yeah. And you already gave the report, basically.
I did,
as the
yeah.
highway stuff. Okay, questions for Cheryl? Hearing none, we'll move on. Parks and Rec was canceled. The next meeting is the 15th at 10 o'clock. And the Tree Commission is meeting on the 22nd. And the Events Committee did have a meeting, right, on the 10th?
On the 24th?
Oh, no, no, it's March. I'm sorry.
Oh, we have one coming up on the 10th. Yeah, we have.
Okay.
Just about fireworks and July 4th celebration this year, so we'll have a longer meeting to incorporate the broader group, the schools, the fire department, the American Legion, JYAA, council, staff, anybody who wants to come, really. And it'll be over in the admin side, because I think there's mayor's court that evening. But talking about July 4th and fundraising efforts and things like that night.
Suggestion, Ben?
Yep.
Some of the people uptown was talking about having like a community potluck or whatever you want to call it downtown on the square, and maybe talk about an events committee having it in the neighborhoods.
Sure.
Wonder if that was something the committee would think about entertaining to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, Doug, you talked about helping with the Fireman's Festival Parade in a broader sense. It formed around the 4th of July celebration to begin with, but I think ultimately the long-term vision is to have it ingrained within the community, and maybe more of a community-run committee with council representation than the other side. So absolutely, if they want to come to that meeting coming up on the 10th to talk about it, we can talk about it there. They can reach out to me directly. Absolutely, any way that we can help, we're going to want to do.
And the date?
The date for the fireworks, July 3rd.
Okay.
July 3rd.
All right. Any questions for Ben on the events? If not, we're gonna move on. Director reports. Dana, finance is up next, and you're on.
Thank you. Finance report. As for, we have collected 7.3% of our 2022 budgeted income tax revenue of $2.6 million. And that is an increase of 29% from 2021 collections. As you can see in the chart, the withholding line is steadily growing. And if you notice, from 2021 to 2022, there's a 21% jump there. And I look at the withholding line as one of the most static growing lines, just because the remittance of those taxes is on a regular basis by companies. as opposed to the individual and the net profit, which can be due to timing and fluctuate quite a bit. So since we have that 20% jump there in the withholding from year to year, that's a very, very good sign. I do have my revenues and expenditures spreadsheet attached as well. There's really not much to discuss there. Everything is pretty much in line with budget. And then the bottom of my report, I've been working with Julian and Grube, the consultants for our financials, and providing 2020 and 2021 data, and will continue to do so. The asset valuation, we have hired HCA Asset Management, and they are on site this week and visiting the admin and police department yesterday, water treatment, wastewater treatment plants, and the parks all week. So if you see someone walking around looking at our parks and tagging things, that's what they're doing.
Chief knows about that, right? Okay.
The One Ohio opioid settlement, as Councilman Lee discussed, it was presented to Finance Committee. There is a deadline of today to submit a letter of interest to Commissioner Bubb. So I hope all of you got your letters of interest into him, because that'll be fun. And finally, I was able to mail the registration for the rental program, the rental registration program. Those were mailed last week, and I set a deadline to receive payments and those forms back 90 days after the initiation, which was originally January 1st, 2018, but as you all know, we didn't send them out then. So I changed the initiation of the program to be January 1st, 2022, so that's okay. And finally, annual filing deadlines. We have May 2nd for the Johnstown Community Improvement Corporation and May 31st for our GAP financials. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Dana?
Yeah, I have one question on the rental registration. It's been so long since we talked about that. Is there a fee to that or anything? I
Yes.
forgot.
It's a nominal fee. I can't recall.
But there is a small fee.
A small fee, yeah, maybe 50, maybe 100 at the most. It depends on how many
Apartments.
units.
Okay.
It's been recently, but we haven't had any feedback or comments.
No, I haven't received anything. I did inform Teresa that if she did get phone calls, that she has the form and can reference the ordinance number and everything.
Is there any update to the CICs?
No, I have not received any information from the IRS, but I will follow up with them soon.
And the other thing, I guess, that we did talk about that we didn't touch on is the investment interest rate.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been noted the past couple times that in the expense and the revenue side, that the interest rate on the amount of money that we have invested isn't generating much.
A return.
And there are some limits to what we can invest in as a political subdivision, but I think Danny said you're gonna ask some questions.
Yeah, and it could be timing of when these are maturing as to what we're seeing as far as returns. So I plan to talk to Brian Carter, our contact at Fifth Third Securities, next week.
Dana, real quick, on our right-of-way fund, I know nothing will be in from this year, but did we ever get full collections through 12/31 of last year on our right-of-way collections? Because I knew it late in the year, we still had not received all that we should have.
Correct. We did receive a large payment from Columbia Gas, I believe it was.
Okay, that was one of the big ones that was
Yeah,
outstanding.
about $30,000. We received that this year. As far as any others that have gone uncollected, I have to look into that and see.
Yeah, if we did not receive, because obviously we're gonna generate much quicker this year than we did last year. We'll need to get a hold of Eric Sandine, as he's supposed to help with those collections for us, so. Because I do know late last year, we weren't where we should have been on collections, so. Yeah, if you'll check that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, we carried over 17.5. What, were we expecting that 30 to be calendar year last year?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Any further questions for Dana? Thank you. We'll move on. Chief, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. So January was the first month that I did not have any CAD data, so it's the first month that was lost in its entirety. And last month I submitted a little diagram of what happens with that CAD data, and I'll kind of share that here as well. The caller makes a call, it goes to the dispatching center. That goes out to the police cars handle the call due to disposition, and then the disposition goes right back to CAD. Now, what ends up happening is none of that gets transferred over to the Johnstown Police Department. So in the morning time, the clerk has to get the information if there's a report or what may have it, and then manually enter that information into our CAD system, and then that in turn will generate a report. We are moving forward, so the manager did sign the Lincoln County shared agreement, and I believe all the agencies that we're gonna be sharing the data with have also signed, so that's the first segue that we need in order to start to build with the CAD system. So as a result, I don't have any information on what major crimes occurred, where those occurred at, as well as the allocated time an officer spends doing tasks within the city, and the demographical makeup of traffic stops within the venue as well. Training, there was no in-person training last month. The officers did do online training, 1 hour on bloodborne pathogens, and then another hour on responders at risk, protecting first responders from opioid exposure. So that kicks off our first year at 2 hours of training. Social media is up across the board, so looking very, very good there. The fleet, the patrol officers drove a total of almost 4,700 miles in Johnstown, so a lot of miles are being put on the cars. And something that I did want to note to council is that the fuel costs are up. Our average last year is about $13.44, and last December, we spent $16.28, so there's about a $300 increase on fuel there. And that's all that I have for my report. Open to any questions.
Questions for the chief? Any questions?
CAD,
Yes, sir.
because I like the numbers.
I know you love the numbers, Mr. Lee. I know, and I love the numbers too.
Do we think next month or a couple months, or what's the expectation for?
Whenever we actually launch RCAD. I'm trying to find a way to work around it because there's information that per the Ohio Collaborative, and to show our legitimacy as an organization, I need to have certain numbers like demographical makeup traffic stops. So I'm working around trying to get those physical numbers, if it's counting citations, or I'm trying to figure out how to count warnings, and
It's
then.
a lot of manual work.
Yes. So it's very challenging, and I know up till basically December I had the data, and then last month when I ran the numbers, literally a quarter of the data that normally there was there, that's it.
It's just a matter of time. It's coming.
Yeah, so I just gotta get the new system, and then I'll be able to pull the numbers, and then I also need to spend time to get familiar with the new system as well, which in itself is an art. And then also to add to, it's the first full month that we've had on county dispatching, and I thought that they've been doing a really good job. The traffic is very, very busy. It's something for the officers to get used to, and it's something for me to get used to. Like today, we had 2 pursuits during day shift, so it's busy traffic, but they do an outstanding job of dispatching. And then I've also noticed that we're getting to the calls for those non-responders just as fast, if not faster, than the fire department. So
That's
very
great.
good job there.
Good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion, questions? If not, we'll move on. Thank you, chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next up is, we're gonna move into, public hearing of legislation. First up is ordinance 02-2022. Ordinance amending ordinance 47-21, the annual appropriation ordinance of the city of Johnstown to approve necessary changes of appropriations. And this was introduced at the last meeting, and tonight we're gonna have a public hearing and a vote. So, first I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Okay, at this point, I'm gonna open the public hearing. Anybody can make comments if they wish. And, Dana, do you wanna give the down and dirty of what this is?
I can give a brief explanation.
Okay.
We are
That's a better way
transferring
of saying
some monies to the Budget Stabilization Fund as we had extra money in the general fund to move forward with our goal of an ending amount of 500,000. And also some other minor items we're adding that were introduced at Finance Committee last month for the street department, and plow truck additional cost, and correction to the capital outlay because of an over appropriation. Very, very minor.
Okay. Questions any questions?
So this gets us.
Okay, I'm gonna open,
Oh, I thought you
let me
closed. All right.
answer, open the public hearing. Hearing no comment, I will close the public hearing. Now we can have discussion.
I was gonna say, this gets us within 30,000 of our $500,000
All right. We're getting
baseline
there.
goal for budget
We're
stabilization,
getting there. We'll have a
Yay.
which
celebration.
is
when we
very
get there.
exciting. I'm excited about it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dana will call the roll.
Dana?
Not Dana. Teresa. This is what happens when you
Guess-
become
guess.
elderly. Your mind starts to wander in the middle of this. Sorry about that.
Yes.
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 Yes. Resolution is agreed to. Actually, that's an ordinance, I'm sorry. Next up is a resolution, 2022-09. And this is a resolution granting additional sick leave hours to employees of the city of Johnston. And I will try to explain this, and then I'll turn it over to Ben, because he'll do a better job of it. We had a number of employees that, starting in January,
First of this year.
that were either contracted COVID-19 or were exposed and had to quarantine and isolate. Okay. Previously, we had granted additional sick hours to anyone that came down with COVID.
Correct.
Just as a matter of course, under the CARES Act and some other things, we took care of that. I thought it was important that we try to address this the best way we can and continue to cover COVID in a way that would be advantageous to our employees, whether it be they contracted it or they had to isolate because they were exposed. And that's where we got into, we had a discussion tonight where we thought some additional information came up that we needed to address. And also, we feel that this resolution needs some additional working on the language. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess I could make the to table it.
Yeah. Do you wanna get some
Well, we
background
wanna
as
have
to-
some
as
discussion.
to why?
I want somebody else to chime in
So
here.
the way that we came up, and it sounds like there was some concurrence from staff with this resolution, is that the way it was written was to blanketly give an additional 5 days of sick time to everybody, right?
That is correct.
So the conversation that we had in finance was more favorable to utilizing this as a COVID-specific, somewhat case-by-case basis.
As needed.
To be able to be used for that CDC recommended, Ohio Department of Health recommended 5-day quarantine period, isolation period, if exposed, for that specifically, or illness caused as a result of a vaccination or booster in prevention of contracting or severe illness for that COVID, which is still in line with the ARPA dollars, still in line with the CARES Act and the intent behind those. And the idea was to make this retroactive for those employees that started in January that had not accrued any PTO or personal time enough to cover those 5 days, and at this point essentially went unpaid for that period of time. That is a quarantine isolation period that is not initiated by them as a health department piece. So the suggestion in the conversation in finance was to table this tonight, and it was voted 3-0 in finance to table it as a recommendation to council, to give staff the ability to go back from the finance conversation and reword it to ensure that it's COVID specific. It's not additional vacation time, personal time, or regular sick time, but it's COVID specific, taken as a 5-day period, or 1 or 2 days if needed for that sickness after inoculation. And that it does not carry over. It's a case-by-case basis as requested, and that it is retroactive, and then there's going to be going forward, if this is something that is favorable to everybody, a financial component to it, that we're going to have to adjust some line items within the budget to be able to accommodate, unless we wanted to wait till the end of the year or something like that. But however, finance wanted to handle that. But understanding there will be a financial component to it, if needed. But we know that there will be expense on what was retroactive, what's going to be retroactive. So the way it's presented tonight is not in that spirit, and so we would suggest tabling it, if it's favorable through the discussion tonight, to reword it and bring it up off the table 2 weeks from today.
Is everybody confused now?
No, I was glad that they brought the retro up because we had some new employees that was
Didn't-
off for COVID stuff, but you're gonna go back and issue them a check for the time.
They will get paid regular time as if they were working, and that any personal or sick leave that they happen to have at that point will be reinstated to be used as intended, so that because of this time frame, it does not impact them, and that we are covering them for that.
Now, those that had sick leave, that did use their sick leave, we're just gonna restore their sick leave
Correct.
because they did already receive a check.
Right.
You know, those who had sick, so we'll just restore their sick leave.
Yeah.
So the financial impact is going to be
Minimal.
very, very small.
Yeah.
Even the new employees that hadn't built any sick leave or not enough, it's in our budget to pay them anyway. So it actually, most of that should already be budgeted. We really, I don't know where we'll see much financial impact
If
at
it's
all.
used in the future, I suppose, if it's utilized to go forward, I suppose.
Well,
again,
they're just gonna get,
in which case,
sick
you
pay.
reconcile it at the end of the year, like.
So, any further discussion?
I think we also discussed, I know I asked Dana to look to see if that could actually be a line item on the pay stub.
Right, these 5
You know,
days.
God forbid this continues on through this year and into next year, then the end of next year, we could also decide that this year's leave is done, and then we can set it up for next year and carry it out beginning of the year next year, so we don't stumble on this again.
Okay, so I would like to do the public hearing at the if we're gonna table this.
Table it.
Was there any other questions or
So
comments?
if there's a motion to table, I'd certainly entertain it.
I'll make a motion to table resolution 2022-09.
And Doug has made
I'll
it,
second.
and Sharon has seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Teresa, want to call the roll?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
The resolution is laid on the table. Okay, next up is ordinance 03-2022. And tonight is only for introduction. It's to, we had discussed this at the last meeting, and it was to amend the contract with, Training Marbles. Sorry about that. I knew it was on here somewhere, so I forgot. And tonight is only for introduction, and we will consider this it's to, increase their contract to $6,500, and we will consider it at our next council meeting. Okay, that concludes the formal agenda. I have one announcement I want to make. The American Legion is having a breakfast on Saturday from 8 to 10, and it's very good. And if anybody is interested, I will be there, and I hope you can join us. And that goes for anybody in the community who might be listening to this. They do a great job helping to do lots of things in the community, and any support we can give the American Legion and the auxiliary is appreciated. So, that's all I have. Anybody else?
I have a bit of good news, coming out of Licking County. Our ARPA funds for our sewer lining project has been accepted and awarded to us. So we will be receiving $450,000 from the ARPA funds to go into the sanitary lining project, which is gonna be huge. We'll end up doing 4 times what we normally do in any given year. So I have already given the engineers to go ahead with design as we would like to get and expend that money this summer/fall.
And these were ARPA funds from the county commissioners' allotment.
Okay.
Now, correct. Now, we are using the Johnstown ARPA funds, as Councilman Lee brought forward and suggested. They're gonna be in conjunction with this, along with the $100,000 CIP. So all told into this project, 455, 50, 600, a little over $600,000 will go into that sewer lining project in Rolling Meadows.
Good job.
So I wanted
great.
to,
Got a question. for
Question?
Jack.
Mark?
yes.
Once this is done, Jack, how much more will we have to do to finish the whole project?
About another $10 million.
Is
What?
that all?
10?
Yeah.
That's
No,
reasonable.
I'm not being facetious.
I know you're not.
Um,
I just,
$100,000 will do about 2.5 blocks of lining. So, with the sewer department, we have went through and we have prioritized where our most troubles are. And, as you know, we've been pecking away at it at $100,000 a year, and that's about 2.5 blocks at a stretch. So we haven't even approached the center of the old portion of town, which could be eye-opening when we get there, but we have been constantly having sanitary sewer overflows down in the Rolling Meadows development because they love to plant those silver maples, so we knew right where the sewer line was. They planted them right on top of them. Silver maples, of course, are a fast root-growing tree, and we've had so many intrusions into the joints, so that is where our primary work is. 10 million, I said that, but we will have hundreds, well, it will be in the millions by the time we replace. I don't know if it's 10 million, but we'll be there.
Well, that's
Rooter
good
guys
news.
love us over there.
Excuse me?
I said the rooter guys love us over there.
Well, actually, it's.
Those trees are accurate.
They're
Where
there,
there's a
and,
tree, your
oh,
line's
they're right on
underneath it.
top.
Yeah.
When they laid out that development, they lined them right on top of the sanitary sewers. It wasn't my fault. I've been here a long time, but that happened before me. And, so in any event, yes, they are down through there, and the Roto-Rooter group, we're gonna try to alleviate that from the residents that live down there when we get this lining done.
Good deal,
Okay. Anybody else?
good deal.
If not, we are going to have another executive session to consider employment of a public employee and also contractual matters. And I think we can stay here this time, and we'll let all of our guests depart and thank them for coming. And
This is just with Council and Jack, right?
Council and Jack,
Teresa probably.
and Teresa,
Diane.
and Diane
Yeah, we better let Diane stay.
for a piece of it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Good to see you.
Yep, thank you. Okay.
thanks,
Thanks, Dwayne.
Oh, do we need a motion?
It's nice meeting you. I already have one.
Ben, make a
Oh,
motion.
you got,
Thanks.
okay,
No, I'll make the motion.
She's got one, so.
thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank
I'll
you.
se- I'll
I don't have
second
a
it.
card,
There you
thank
go.
you.
And I
I'll
will,
second
good
it.
to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Nice to meet
All
you.
those in favor?
Aye.
You gotta do a roll call, okay.
Oh,
All right. Yes.
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 Can I have just 2 minutes?
Oh, sure. Take whatever time you need.
Yeah, I think I need to run there too, real quick.
Anyhow.
I'm gonna use the restrooms. Everybody's using
Yeah. One of those